Welcome to another Onshape tutorial. We're looking at the mood lamp that the BryPrep students created at Bryanston School, and we've been modelling it over a series of video tutorials. In this video tutorial we're going to perhaps create the most complicated part, which is one of the feet. So let's get started. So for this we're not going to use one of the existing work planes, we're going to create a new work plane. So I'm going to select the front work plane by left clicking on it, and then I'm going to left click on the plane tool up here, and you'll see it defaults to an offset. It's brought plane 1, which it's named it automatically, in front by 25 millimeters. We want that actually to be 20 millimeters, so I'm going to change that to 20 and hit return, and then left click to confirm. So we've got that plane, and if I tip that round, hopefully you can see that the edge of plane 1 lines up with the holes that we created in the bottom block. Now, just to make things a little bit easier, I can rename that plane 1. So I'm going to right click on there and rename it, and I am going to change the name so that it says foot plane. So if we were coming back to this later on, we'd know the purpose of that particular work plane. Now, something else that we can do is to get rid of some of the other planes that perhaps might be confusing us. So if we scroll up to the top on the left hand side, similar as we could with different parts, we can actually hide the different work planes. So we've just got our our foot plane for us to work on. So I'm going to right click on the foot plane and left click on new sketch, press N to view normal to, and I'm just going to zoom in on here. Now, one of the things I can do if I'm not sure where to create this sketch that lines up with the hole in the other direction, I can left click over here and I can go hidden edges visible, and you can now see that everything has gone to kind of a line drawing, and I can see where the holes are. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a center line, because we're going to use the revolve tool, and I want that center line to be in the middle of this hole. So I'm going to use the line tool, and I'll just quickly show you with the line tool. If I left click to start a line and then left click to finish the line, it will do a continuous line. So I can then left click to place, left click to place, left click to place, left click to place. And if I double left click, it ends the last placement. If I left click to place but I hold the left mouse button in and I drag the line to where I want it and then release the mouse button, it doesn't do a continuous line, it just does one line. So it's worth remembering that. If I had left click to place, went off and thought, oh, hang on a minute, I don't want that line to follow on, I've drawn what I need to draw, I can just press the escape key on the keyboard and it will end that line. Right, I don't want any of those lines, so I'm just going to drag over those to select them and then press the delete key on the keyboard, and they've all been removed. Okay, so let's select the line tool. And I'm going to select the construction tool here, which works in combination with the other sketch tools to make it a construction line. So I'm going to hover over from the origin so that I'm lined up with that bottom edge, left click to place the line, and I'm just going to drag that down. It's about 16 millimeters, but it doesn't matter. And as you can see, I've still got a line carrying on, so press escape to stop that. Now I'm going to dimension that. I'm going to dimension it from the origin, so left click on the origin, left click to that line, and it's 19.91. I actually want it to be 20 millimeters, so create 20 millimeters. So I'm now going to draw the shape of the foot. So I can make this as complex or as simple as I like, I suppose. But in terms of the features on the foot, it had a countersunk hole to allow it to be screwed to the base of the lamp. And the students actually made it by injection molding. We had a silicone mold made up that they could then use a hot melt glue gun to inject hot melt glue into it to create effectively injection molded parts. So they made this as a single part quite quickly. So I'm going to use the line tool. I'm not going to use the dotted lines anymore, but I'm going to just make sure that I've lined up with the edge of my center line and also the edge of the origin, and I'm simply going to start off with 3 lines. So I'm going to left click to place the end of the line, left click to place the next part, left click to come out diagonally, and then left click again. Now you'll notice, press escape key, you'll notice that as I drag those 2 lines out, you could see that they were kind of slightly dotted or highlighted as I was dragging them, which meant that they were effectively normal to this line and parallel to this line. I'm going to dimension these first. The reason I'm going to dimension these lines first is if I don't and I try and draw all of the part in one go, it might start to move things around in a way that I don't want it to. So I'm just setting up these parts initially. Now what's quite clever about this, if I use the dimension tool and I've got a center line, if I click to the center line, it gives me a dimension. If I move the dimension over the other side, it tells me what the diameter is. So I want that diameter to be 3 millimeters, and this part, click on the line, click on the center line, I want that one to be 5 millimeters. I also want the length of this line to be 4 millimeters. So I'm just going to drag it over here and make that 4. And I want from here to here, and I'll drag it all the way over here, to be 10 millimeters. And I want the angle between this line and this line to be 135. So that's actually at a sort of 45-degree angle or 90-degree angle if you took both parts. So that's effectively, I've just drawn the inner part of the foot. Let's now draw the outer part of the foot. So I'm just going to draw a line from linking to the bottom line at 90 degrees. You can see hopefully it's orange and blue sort of dotted. And then I'm going to draw a line over to here. And finally, draw a line to there so it's connected. And can you see, hopefully, that that is shaded in grey, which means it's a good sketch. It's a working sketch. I've got no missing lines. I've got no lines that are overlapping. I've got no small gaps. I can now finish dimensioning this. So from that point to the center line, I want that to be a diameter of 6. And from that point to the center line, I want that to be 5 millimeters. I want it to be 6 millimeters. So that's the shape of our part. Okay, now that might not make a lot of sense at the moment, but let's apply a feature to it. So this time we're going to apply the revolve feature. So it's already selected that sketch to revolve around, and we're going to select the revolve axis, which is our dotted line, and you'll see that it rotates that part around, and left click. So that's our foot, and if we look through, it's actually got a hole that will fit the head of a screw, which is countersunk, and the body of the screw, and we can then see the hole inside where the screw will cut into that hole to attach it. So that's that part simply done. If we now go over to here and go back to shaded, we can see that we've got that part. Now you'll note that it's the same color as our base, and that's because we've added to it. We've got no new part here. So one of the things that we can do with this is we can always go back and we can always edit sketches, and we can always edit features. So let's edit the revolve feature that we've just created. So right click on revolve. Now we don't want to edit the sketch, we're happy with the sketch. We want to edit the revolve, so left click on edit. And all we're simply going to do is change the add to a new. You'll see that part 6 has appeared down there. Left click, and we now have a new part, which is done in a bright goldy yellow. Let's right click and rename that, and we'll just call it foot. Okay, so we now have all of the manufactured parts, all of the parts that the students made have now been created in our model. All we need to do now is to put them in an assembly. So in the next tutorial, I'll show you how to assemble the parts. Thanks for watching. See you next time.